Hello, welcome to another episode of Bat Dan's Discussions. So man, we've had a lot happen since last time. James Gunn spoke out, J. Olivia, man, I can't pronounce that name, spoke out, and we got a pretty cool Flash trailer, which makes me wonder, why are we rebooting? So for this discussion, I thought I would bring on James Gunn's #1 fan and the biggest supporter of the reboot, which, to clarify, I say very sarcastically. And we are going to bring on none other than Zodwriter. How are you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing so good. Thank you so much for having me, Dan. It's a pleasure to be here with you to talk about all of this, man. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm really happy to have you on. I mean, this is very James Gunn heavy, and to be honest, there's no one else I could have on to discuss this other than you, because I know you have your opinions about James Gunn, and it's just so much has happened since the last episode of Bat Dan's Discussions. Well, actually, you know what's funny, though? When I did my episode with Trey, James Gunn spoke out in between when we recorded the episode and when it premiered. So I had to put in the description that, hey, we recorded this before James Gunn spoke out about the whole hashtag. So who knows? Maybe James Gunn will say something between now and Saturday morning.
You know, just the fact that James Gunn said something about the hashtag is good for the hashtag. Positively or negatively, James Gunn speaking, at all, giving any kind of notice to it whatsoever, giving it a pet name, Wacky, and all that. It's funny because it just, all it does is bolster the hashtag and put the hashtag into, further into the minds of people, even people that maybe weren't really involved or didn't want to hashtag. When you got James Gunn drawing attention to it, I don't know. That's that, well, no matter what he said, I think it's good for the hashtag regardless.
I agree. And if James Gunn wanted this hashtag to go away, the best thing he could have done was say nothing. Because when he spoke out, the hashtag just trended higher. What are you?
Well, and it's kind of, you got to think about this for a second. It's kind of, I don't know if it reflects on James Gunn as a creator, as a filmmaker, or as the co-head of DC Studios, but his stuff does not trend on the level that things of Zack Snyder. I think honestly, deep down, that James Gunn is jealous of the popularity and the rabid fan base behind Zack Snyder. I think he knows that he'll never be able to garner that type of popularity. He'll never have that type of fan base, no matter what he does. And I think it's eating away at him because no matter what he does, his slate is nothing. There is more hype for this Flash movie, thanks to that stellar trailer. There's more hype for this Flash movie now than there will ever be for anything James Gunn could come up with, no matter what he tries to do. So his position can't be an easy one. If I was James Gunn, I'm going to tell you one thing I would have did. 100%, I would have reserved the Snyderverse if I was James Gunn. Because honestly, if you want to be a hero to the fans and you want to ingratiate yourself to DC, you don't throw out a very loud, vocal, and almost militaristic fan base. You don't try to alienate us. What you do is you try to make everybody happy. And I think it would have been smart, especially because he knows that WBD is broke. And none of the projects that he really wants to make, particularly his Superman Legacy movie that he's been writing for 6 days, and his and some of his other movies, whatever they are, I don't think I don't think any of that's going to get into production quickly enough for the Snyderverse to have been a threat. If anything, you got to remember we've got what, 4 movies coming out this year, 4 films that are DC that have nothing to do with whatever James Gunn is going to eventually release or throw into production. I would bet the only thing that's going into production this year, or is probably already in production, is his Creature Commandos cartoon, because that's probably all that WBD can afford to focus on right now.
Yeah, I agree, because the thing is, they could have diverted a lot of the funding from James Gunn's projects into a Man of Steel 2, because I get that James Gunn wants to have his own legacy, but here's what he needs to realize, is what you said. He would have been looked upon favorably if he restored the Snyderverse, and I think a lot of us would have been more open if he had given us the Snyderverse properly, and I mean properly closed it off. We would have been a lot more receptive to what he was doing, because we would have been grateful to him for saving the Snyderverse instead of pulling this 180. Because how can I get invested in his universe when I have this whole other universe that ends on a cliffhanger? Because even if James Gunn's stuff ends up good, how do I know that that's going to end properly? How do I know that's not going to end on a cliffhanger?
And that's a big problem that we have right now. Again, if you think about it just logistically from where they were standing when James Gunn came in, the plan was, and we know this because it's documented, the plan was for the Snyderverse to be finished off. That was the plan prior to James Gunn coming in. They were going to just go ahead and finish it off. Whether or not they brought back Zack Snyder or not, that's debatable. We don't know, but the plans were to finish off the Snyderverse before starting something new, to finally finish it off and then move forward. And what I don't understand is Zack Snyder would have finished his arc in a way that would have allowed for a reboot, hence the multiverse. So you could have did that anyway. Zack was headed in that direction anyway. Why do you think the multiverse is brought up in Zack Snyder's Justice League? Why do you think we're seeing the concept of Barry being able to travel through time, a la The Flash? This Flash movie is, looks like it's going to pay homage to several aspects of DC on film. We're probably going to see a ton of little Easter eggs and little surprises and things that we are not expecting. I honestly, for me, it's confusing because all he had to do was finish it out, and especially since WBD has no money. See, this is my thing. Why are you allowing a movie like Shazam, Fury of the Gods, to go through, to open with no hype whatsoever? No hype, no aspirations for success. You might as well have just dropped Shazam straight to HBO Max. Nobody cares. Nobody's talking about it. The only movie that anybody even gives a fig out right now is The Flash. And the hype is just going to build and build and build and build until June. So I don't understand. So you're telling me that you had Henry Cavill on board and you couldn't figure out some way to make this Man of Steel 2 movie go into production, knowing that Man of Steel 2 would have netted you $1 billion at the box office.
Would have helped with that debt. Would have helped with that. Definitely would have helped with that debt, and it would have given hype for DC. Because the thing with Shazam 2 would have benefited for me if they were continuing the Snyderverse, because then I would just support that movie out of loyalty towards DC, out of loyalty towards WBD. Like, look at Marvel. Marvel can have like the worst film come out and people will still see it because people are hyped with that brand. But people aren't with DC right now. And to be honest, Zachary Levi killed all hype for what I'll call Shazam 2, since, as my dad says, he does not have the wisdom of Solomon.
He doesn't have any wisdom at all. In fact, I'd say he's the biggest tone-deaf idiot on the planet. And he literally shot his movie in the foot. There is no way that this movie is gonna. I would be surprised, okay, if this movie even comes close to Black Adam numbers. I think Black Adam it gave us a good indication of, Black Adam got what a good Shazam movie would have gotten. But there's no hype for Shazam. So Shazam doesn't even have the benefit of a Henry Cavill cameo. Okay. So, I mean, I don't think anybody, I don't know anybody who's interested in this. And it's clear that the only movie that WBD cares about is The Flash, because that's the one that they're hyping. That's the one that they spent the Super Bowl money on.
Because they know it's a good movie. That's the thing. I mean, despite everything, all the controversy around that movie, they released it for a reason.
Yes.
There is a reason that despite everything that went on, with Ezra Miller and all this other stuff, they still decided to release it for a reason, because they have faith in the movie. And when I saw that trailer, do you know what the only thing I can think about is, why are they rebooting? Look at the hype. Like, how great this movie was. People love Batfleck in the movie. People were excited for this whole movie. What about this movie's success leads WBD to think, hey, let's reboot after this? It's the exact same thing Warner Media did with Zack's Justice League. You had this great movie that everyone liked, and instead of going forward like any other studio would do, they're rebooting after this.
I feel like they're doing with The Flash what Sandberg, ironically the director of the Shazam movies, joked about in his little video about how executives see movies and test screenings. People were excited to see Affleck, right? They were Batfleck. They liked Batfleck. So what were they thinking? People liked Keaton and Batfleck. So what will the executives probably do? They'll probably make sure that there's more Affleck and Keaton footage in this movie. In the final cut, they'll make sure that they use all the footage for Batfleck and Keaton. We got to throw more Batfleck and Keaton in there because that's what people were attracted to. That's what people liked the most about the trailer. So now we're going to make sure that we give them that. But that's all fine. That's all well and good. I think The Flash is going to be their $1 billion hit. I think it's going to be their No Way Home. I think it's going to be the movie that, but I also think that if they would have just did a Man of Steel 2 and shelved Shazam and did Man of Steel 2, that would have got them $1 billion easy. I'm a firm believer in that, especially Brainiac being the villain. And if the rumors are true, Daniel Craig was supposed to play Brainiac. Dan, can't even fathom how they would not do this. If I was Zaslav, I would not have brought James Gunn in until after they finally finished up the Snyderverse. Finish up the Snyderverse and then bring James Gunn on to do whatever he do. Because, you want to get out of your financial, but you you get rid of all the things that can give you that money that you need. That makes no sense.
I agree. I mean, the things you have to spend money to make money. And the thing, they already shot the scene with Henry Cavill and they're no longer using it. If they could have made,
I don't know, man. I don't know about all that. I keep thinking about that, Dan, and here's my take on that. I expect all these cameos to be in this movie. I don't know why. I just expect them all to be in there because think about it. Cavill was paid for his cameo. Gal Gadot was for her cameo. Batfleck was paid for his work. Keaton was paid for his work. I feel like if The Flash is truly a multiverse movie and they're digging up Christopher Reeve from the grave and having his CGI avatar be in this movie. You know, I don't see how they can get away with not including Cavill, at least in one scene. So I'm kind of at the point where I think that all this is just BS and smoke and mirrors, because I don't think WBD ever came out themselves and confirmed that that Cavill's not in the Flash movie. I don't think they ever actually came out. It's all these reports that are coming out from various trades and stuff, and we know trades have been wrong in the past. We know that for sure. So I am optimistic that maybe all the cameos will be in the movie. They should be anyway, because it would only make sense given that it's a multiverse movie. And I don't see how, and plus the fact you want the Flash to make as much money as possible. So you want to appeal to the broadest audience that you possibly can. And this movie actually looks like you can do that. It looks like, you know what it looks like to me? It looks like a really, really good multiversal DC film mixed with elements of Back to the Future mixed in. And that to me is a recipe for massive success. This movie really looks good. And I don't think that they're gonna do anything to handicap. I don't think it's a situation where they're in a dire need right now for money. So you don't want to tick off if throwing Henry Cavill in there has a chance of more butts in the seats. You put that cameo in there. It doesn't really matter if you're not moving forward or not, because the Flash is a multiversal movie. So, they're probably not going to use any more Keaton, and we know Keaton is a big part of this film. So,
I mean, they put Henry Cavill in Black Adam, and they're no longer using him. So you might as well get use of what you paid for. And
exactly,
again, I mean, and one thing you said, like the multiverse, is that the trailer did a really good job of kind of communicating the multiverse to the general audience, which is a hard thing that, us geeks understand the multiverse, but this trailer kind of made it make sense to the general audience. So that was one thing. I agree that I think this, and it's like, you wonder if this movie comes out and makes $1 billion, how can they justify their reboot? I mean, if the movie makes $1 billion, wouldn't that give them more funding to do some of these bigger budget projects? Because supposedly they don't have money. That's why they can't do Man of Steel 2. But if The Flash does well, wouldn't that give them funding to do Man of Steel 2?
Well, look at the way that they're panicking, if the reports are to be believed, over how excited people are about Batfleck. Think about this. If Batfleck, just think about this, in a broad sense. Just think that the hype around seeing Batfleck again and making the Snyderverse canon, okay, making Zack Snyder's Justice League canon, and having Batfleck back. If the hype surrounding him is so great that they want to see more of Batfleck, which we all do, the best possible information that could come from all of this would be if we suddenly got notified that Ben Affleck is going to be and remain Batman for the foreseeable future. That would be incredible, because that would instantly get you more excited, Snyderverse fan, for the future projects of DC, because we know how Ben Affleck is, and we know what Ben Affleck's passion for the character revolves around, and it revolved around the storylines that Zach wanted to tell. So I'm kind of I don't feel like the saga with the Flash is over. I feel like by the time the movie comes out, I feel like we could get everything that we are hoping for. I don't think that they're going to handicap it at this point. It's just, there's just too much. If the Flash isn't successful, none of the other movies are going to be successful. And you got to think about it, they're going to be desperate because Shazam isn't going to make any money. And I think they already know that. I think they already know that Shazam is a lost cause. And the only reason they're not dropping it on HBO Max right away is because they know they won't make anything off of doing that. So they've got to put it in theaters to try and make some sort of profit from it. But let's be honest, it's hypeless. Nobody cares.
I don't care. I mean, the thing is, when Zachary Levi came out, insulted the fans, insulted Snyder's movies, disrespected us, he told us, as far as I'm concerned, he told me not to see his movie. And you're right, they have to put it in theaters.
I felt like he said F you to the whole fandom. That's what I felt like. He basically blamed Snyder for everything that happened. He blamed Snyder. It's Snyder's fault, even though it was WB that messed with Snyder's vision in his movie in the first place. It's WB that's been handicapping Zach ever since VS. What are we talking about here, Zach? You obviously don't know what's going on. You're talking out of both sides of your mouth. You need to shut up and should have just continued on with your skiing vacations with James Gunn and his family. And hopefully, you'll still have a job at the end of it, right? Because that's what it's about. All these people begging to keep their jobs. That's all it is. Look at Jay Oliva. All his comments to me sound like somebody who is begging. He's in need of work. So it's sort of sucking up to the new boss to see how, to see if you can get in good in the beginning with the new boss. It's a psychological game. Everybody at their job tries it. You get a new boss, you try to get in good with the new boss, you try to make a friend out of the new boss, and you try to build yourself up in the good graces of the new boss so that better things can come your way. And I don't think Jay Oliva is any different. Obviously, Zachary Levi, he's all in on sucking up. I mean, I've never seen anybody suck up on the level of that guy, Zachary Levi. But I mean, that guy doesn't deserve to be in another superhero movie just because of all the brown nosing he's doing. This guy is like on a whole nother level. But again, it's not going to be a good movie. It's not going to make any money. And to me, that's the best part about it. They WBD wasn't happy. Black Adam. You think they're going to be happy with Shazam?
The only advantage is Shazam got China. I think that's the only advantage it's going to have over Black Adam.
Yeah, but no.
I don't think it helped.
No. What about the original? Yeah, did it help? That's what I was going to say. Didn't the first Shazam come out in China? Did China help them that much? I guess China helped them enough to where they were able to get a respectable box office to get a sequel. But if I remember correctly, the box office for Shazam was really no better than Black Adam.
It was actually worse. The only reason Black Adam was worse is because it cost more in production because of COVID. But actually, in terms of gross, I forget these two mixed up. Gross or net? Which one's the one that is factored in before expenses?
That's the gross.
Okay, gross. Black Adam had a higher gross profit than Shazam did. So, the net is the take home. Right.
They aren't taking home. Yeah, they aren't taking home nothing on Shazam. I feel like Shazam should have been, and I'm not just saying this because I hate Zachary Levi. I just feel like Shazam should have been a tax write-off, just like Batgirl. Honestly, a tax write-off, because now you can devote more money to your other stuff. Just get it out of here because it's not going anywhere. If you ask me, Shazam was a bad idea from the beginning. They should not have done Shazam at all. Not at all.
Oh, I think they should have done Shazam, just not with Zachary Levi, just with a better actor. Like, did you mention John Cena's Shazam?
Yeah. I did think that would have been a better idea, But again, we're living in a world where we have a total and complete schmuck in the role of Shazam. So it doesn't help that he's a horrible actor. He was completely miscast, and when the kids act more mature than the actor who's playing Shazam, there's a real big problem. And I don't, because the kids are the only saving grace of the Shazam movies, if you ask me, because at least decent actors. Zachary Levi is a horrible actor. I feel bad for all involved in those movies. It's ridiculous. You might as well have cast what's the guy? The guy from Step Brothers. What's the guy?
Not
Elf.
Will Ferrell.
What's the guy's name? Will Ferrell. No. The other guy from Step Brothers. Isn't it John C. Reilly? Isn't that the guy from Step Brothers?
Oh, yep, John C. Reilly.
Yeah, John C. Reilly would have been a better Shazam than Zachary Levi. At least it would have been funny.
Well, could you imagine if they did a Shazam 3? What if they had Asher Angel? I think that's the kid's name. What if they had him end up like Mary? What's Mary Marvel? Yeah. Like how she's going to play both the kid and the adult character. What if they did that in Shazam? If they did a Shazam 3, what if they had Asher play both Billy Batson and Shazam?
I wouldn't be surprised if they let that Asher Angel guy, if James Gunn tries to get that Asher Angel to play Superman in his Superman legacy. Because they like to recycle actors of people they like, and we got to remember this is the only reason that this Shazam movie is not a tax write-off is because it was produced by Peter Safran, and Peter Safran is co-head of DC. So, I mean,
I'm going to call this right now. Asher's going to be Clark Kal-El, and Zachary Levi is going to be Jonathan Kent.
Oh my God. I could totally see them doing that. Because they could save so much money if they do that too. They could do it on the cheap. They could do a CW budget because Zachary Levi, he just begs and begs and begs. He just wants work. He just wants to. So really, I mean, I could totally see that, man. It's scary. You're saying it here, but I wouldn't be surprised. That actually sounds like a logical move that they would make to keep costs down and to, maintain more of the actors that Safran and Gunn like to work with. Makes sense.
And they need a Superman film to make a profit. That's the thing. And right now, there's a lot working against this film. Like, we are upset about how Henry Cavill was written off. So there's a lot of bad grace with that movie. But if you make it cheap, it doesn't have to make as much money for it to be a success.
Now, what do you think about the rumor that this movie, that Superman Legacy, is not going to be about Clark? That's going to be about Superman's son, John Kent, and he's going to be Superman. So that's why James Gunn for a younger actor, because it's going to be the son of Kal-El, not Henry Cavill, and therefore he would maybe use Henry Cavill later on down the line when WBD has some money. But for now, you focus on John Kent and you tell that story, because that's never been done before. So maybe
James Gunn is not that clever. I think that's a really good idea, what you just said, but that would require James Gunn actually being that clever to do something like that. But it would make sense, because if you're doing this older Batman, Brave and the Bold, that's clearly not year 2 Batman, so you got to have a Superman around that age. So that would solve that problem right there.
Yeah, and plus you could. That's why I'm saying you could have Ben Affleck remain as Batman. Affleck is actually the right age to be the father for Damian Wayne, and you could have that chemistry and that dynamic. And we know that Ben is for the role, so I could see Ben Affleck staying on, at least for that kind of project, especially if the idea is to have like have some sort of Deathstroke project in the future too. But it's I don't know, man. The whole thing to me is a big mess. I really, in my heart of hearts, I don't see any of these movies, including Superman legacy. I don't see these movies actually being made. I feel like this is James Gunn's wish list of random stuff that he'd like to do with DC, but I don't really think any of it's going to actually come to fruition. It's going to be a scenario where the studio gets bought and none of these ideas happen, and then the studio just do what, because you got to think about it. These 4 movies that are coming out are spanning, are good, again, for the rest of the year, right? So we'll see what happens. But like you said, if the Flash makes $1 billion, they're going to be talking about they're going to be talking about course correcting again, because they're not going to want to move away from stuff that people are excited about.
Yeah, they need to find a way to, like I say, get on their knees and beg Henry Cavill to come back. Partner with another studio for production costs if you need to. There are ways they could do this Man of Steel too.
Like Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
That's why I really love Skywalker's campaign. I think Skywalker essentially proposed a way to save the Snyderverse. And here's something I thought of too. If they weren't driven by ego, could you imagine that Netflix does Man of Steel 2, but they give it a limited theatrical release where WBD gets a share of the box office profit? That would be a way they wouldn't have to sell out of money, get Man of Steel 2 out, and clear a lot of their debt.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point.
And it's going to take a while to get new projects out anyway, so that's why I think they need to do this. They need to sell to Netflix. They need to do that because it keeps hype up for the brand. So while Gunn takes his time getting his slate out, in theory, I'd say the big 5 that people are asking for is the Ayer cut, Man of Steel 2, Batfleck v Deathstroke, Zack Snyder's Justice League 2, Zack Snyder's Justice League 3. I argue you could potentially get all those projects out before James Gunn even has a single movie, to be honest.
I think James Gunn is just making things up as he goes along. I don't really think that there's a lot of things about James Gunn that I don't like. But one of the things I think that he's doing right now is he's just making stuff up. This slate of his looks like something that was just drawn up by a teenager who just reads a bunch of random comics and, is like, oh, I'd like to see a movie here. I'd like to see Creature Commandos come back. I'd like to see us do I'm kind of hungry right now. I'd like a Whopper. What can I have? Oh, Waller. Yes. We'll do a Waller series. You see, this is what I'm talking about. Like, everything in that is very random. It's too random to be a real slate, particularly if you want a slate that's going to compete with the MCU. So again, I don't think that any of these ideas, I would be surprised if any of this stuff outside of maybe a couple animated projects actually get off the ground under James Gunn. I really don't think we're going to see any of them. And I'm telling you that just because to me, none of it makes any sense. None of it is coordinated. None of it is planned well enough to actually be legit at this point. And then there's all these rumors about there being an actual, secret slate of what they would really be doing if they actually are able to get any movies off the ground before they get sold again. But I don't think they are. I just don't, like you said, there's not enough time. These movies take a while. Look at how long a bunch of these movies have been in development as it is, the ones that are actually just coming out now. A lot of these movies were in development, have been in development for years and years. That's another reason why, it makes sense, James Gunn, if you're still here, that you'll eventually want to reboot. But at this point, I don't see how that's going to be possible. Like you said, as soon as The Flash comes out and is like a popular movie and makes $1 billion, like we said, let's say The Flash makes $1 billion or makes over $1 billion. Whatever James Gunn's slate is now, is going to have to be altered to accommodate the popularity of the Flash. And I think James Gunn knows this, which is why he put no effort whatsoever into his slate. He's made no effort to do anything because he knows he's not going to be able to get anything. It's all just a ploy, because when the Flash comes out and it makes $1 billion, only thing that they're going to have to turn back to is the Snyderverse.
Yeah, which is why we should not be boycotting this Flash movie. I think this Flash movie is probably one of the most important movies to support. I mean, look, I know it sounds kind of harsh, but people tried that with Black Adam. Clearly, that did not work. So
because Black Adam was a movie, let's be honest, Black Adam was another movie like Shazam: Fury of the Gods is going to be. People didn't care enough. Okay, people didn't have the motivation. If you ask me, Black Adam wasn't the right movie to have Superman come back in. The Flash is actually the right movie to have Superman appear in, especially because you're bringing back all these Man of Steel characters. You're literally bringing back the Man of Steel timeline. You've got General Zod, you've got Fiora, you've got so much happening in this Flash movie that honestly, to say that a 7-second cameo at the end of a movie of an obscure character that most people don't give a damn about is not the way to decide whether or not you're going to make a Man of Steel. You're not making Man of Steel 2 because you don't have money to make Man of Steel 2. Not because you don't want to make Man of Steel 2, but because you don't have the money to make Man of Steel 2. That's what this is about. They can't sit here and say that well, nobody went to see Black Adam, so we didn't. If you wanted Superman to hinge, Henry Cavill's Superman to hinge on Black Adam, then you should have given Henry Cavill more than a cameo in that movie. You should have made Henry Cavill a part of that Black Adam movie. If you want to hinge whether or not you're going to do a Man of Steel 2 on that, because that didn't do anything. So to me, I feel like Flash is going to be the moneymaker. Shazam's going to be another Black Adam, and it's not even going to make as much money as Black Adam made. And I don't even care about Aquaman either. I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't care about that movie. I have no interest in it whatsoever. Aquaman was okay, but I'm not going to be in a rush to go to the movie theater to watch a second Aquaman movie. I could care less. The only DC movie I care about right now is The Flash.
I already
and I think a lot of people
put in my
feel
PTO request for that movie.
For Flash?
I already put it in my half day of PTO for June 15th, which is the Thursday, since technically it opens on the Thursday, not Friday, just to see the Flash movie. Yeah, I'm going to see it that Thursday because I'm excited. I need to see it. And it really looks like it's going to be a great movie. And that's the movie that should have determined the fate of the Snyderverse. Because one, it stars the Snyderverse character the entire time. You have another Snyderverse character in the opening act a lot. And then you have all these cameos at the end. That's a Snyderverse movie. Whether or not some of these extreme fans like it or not, that movie is a Snyderverse movie. And I really do feel like that could determine their decision. Because I'm just saying, remember, 2016, there was a slate out. There was a slate out in 2016. They released the whole slate, and we saw how that ended. So...
yeah, and James Gunn's slate isn't even half as developed as what that was. That was a developed slate, the one we saw in 2016. This is nowhere near developed. They don't even have they don't know what they're doing. You ask him anything, he can't give you any specifics. He can't tell you about actors. He can't tell you about directors. He can't tell you nothing because he doesn't have anything. And he knows that he's not going to get nothing out. He knows it full well. We should all know that his whole MO right now is nothing but BS. The only thing he cares about is hyping up his Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and argue people on Twitter about DC. That's all he cares about. He's not focused on nothing. This guy, for a CEO, a co-CEO of a big studio like DC Studios has nothing but free time on his hands. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And he claims to be writing a Superman script. I mean, if I was writing a Superman script, okay, I don't know. I would probably be dead to the world until the script was done. I can't see how he's got all this time. I've been writing Pause Not Stopped, my book, for many, many months. And I'm still not anywhere near where I want to be with the book. I've got a lot to do. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of research, a lot of time. I can just imagine what it would be like being a co-CEO of a major studio like DC Studios. And on top of it, you're writing a script for a Superman movie, but you still have all this time to debunk people and argue with people on Twitter.
Plus,
I don't understand Marvel.
He has to finish his Guardians of the Galaxy 3 as well. Has to write and direct that Superman movie. Come up with a slate for other DC projects. And look, this top thing here, he's spending time trying to debunk one of the only movements that has actually brought excitement to DC. Okay, first of all, the people who use the hashtag, it's not versus Netflix. That's a little suspicious right there. Plus, the guy has not tweeted the hashtag before, and conveniently, James Gunn just happens to respond to that particular one to call it wacky. I don't know. I find that a little suspicious.
James Gunn has burner accounts. He was talking to himself in that tweet.
Like the Cavill is Clark. Like, remember that one where someone misspelled Cavill and used the hashtag Cavill is Clark, and that was like a weird burner account too that Gunn just happened to respond to?
Yeah. But that's what Gunn enjoys. He enjoys talking to burners. It's
like, this guy, it represents DC. I know he and Peter Safran are co-heads, but James Gunn's the more well-known name of the two. He is the face of DC right now. And as the face of DC, he needs to be representing the brand. As Zaslav said, protecting the brand. And on James Gunn's conduct alone, it doesn't feel like he is doing that. I mean, Skywalker has done a better job of hyping up the DC brand. Someone who is just a fan.
Skywalker's actually protecting the brand, whereas James Gunn is defacing the brand and hyping up his Marvel stuff. Again, I said it before that James Gunn was going to be the conduit between Marvel and DC, and everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody called me a lunatic. Everybody said that I was dangerous and I was toxic because I had dared to say that James Gunn will eventually facilitate a Marvel versus DC movie. This is the idea that James Gunn's doing here. Bring DC down to the point where it'll be very easy for Feige to come in and negotiate and say, hey, I want to do a Marvel versus DC. Can I use these characters? And the studio will say to Feige, sure, we can do a collaboration. Why? Because the studio is so broke and keeps making so many stupid decisions that they can't stand on their own. They're going to need help at that point. So then Feige can ride in and James Gunn can be the hero on the white horse who brought DC to Marvel. And I was the conspiracy theorist, but the more I look at this and the more I think about it, the more I feel like that's exactly what Gunn is trying to do. He's trying to please his overlord Kevin Feige, and eventually we're going to get that Marvel versus DC movie because it's going to be easy for Feige to make that happen because he's going to have the upper hand because Marvel is a much stronger brand than DC. Now, again, that this Flash movie is going to be a good movie, and I hope it doesn't suffer because of the studio too many things out, putting things in, taking things out, putting things in, taking things out. I just want the movie to be whatever Andy Muschietti's vision for the movie is. That's what I want the movie to be. I hope that all our DC cameos are in this film, because based on that trailer, I'm hyped for the movie. I really want to see it. I can't wait. And I could be hyped for whatever else DC is doing, but honestly, I don't care. The only movie that may is The Flash. It's my most anticipated movie of the year. Anything else, I mean, it's whatever. I mean, they you know, the other movies they shouldn't release. They should all be tax write-offs.
Yeah, I part of me, honestly, I wish they would do that, but I think part of the problem is they already spent the money, so to them, they think they can recoup most of their losses making some money in the box office, then getting the tax write-off. It wasn't like,
well, again, it's Peter Safran. As long as Peter Safran is around as a producer for these movies that are due to come out, that's money in his pocket. That's why these movies aren't canceled. I would bet you any money that Zaslav wanted to cancel Shazam: Fury of the Gods. I bet he wanted to cancel it, but because Safran is co-head and Safran is a producer on Shazam, he couldn't do it. They got to do it because you got Safran in there. He's your guy, so you don't want to hurt your guy by shelving his movie. If Safran was a producer on Batgirl, they would never have gotten rid of it. As bad as it is, if Safran was a producer, it would have still came out. I'm telling you. Probably. That's how I know Shazam is going to be. That's how we know Shazam is going to be complete garbage, completely.
Well, here's the thing, though, too, is what Sil said, is that Safran was really the one that Zaslav wanted, not Gunn. Gunn was a package deal. So Safran is the one that Zaslav is going to try to make happy. So, yeah, I agree. If that's why we're getting Shazam 2, because Safran is really, as far as Zaslav is concerned, the valuable asset for DC right now.
Yeah,
because his film Aquaman made $1 billion. Okay, this really bothers me. Why does Safran get all this credit for Aquaman being $1 billion? Why not the director? Why not the star? Why does some producer all of a sudden get all this credit for Aquaman's success? That was
you know what? I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you right now who Zaslav owes the success of the $1 billion for Aquaman. The Snyder fandom, because we ported that Aquaman movie, that mid-Aquaman movie, we support it because Jason Momoa was out there promoting the Snyderverse, was out there constantly talking about release the Snyder Cut in every single interview he was doing. He would mention Zack Snyder by name. He would mention specific inferences within the Snyder Cut on every interview leading up to that movie. That's why the movie made $1 billion. Didn't make $1 billion to see Peter Safran as a producer. Peter Safran was also a producer on Shazam, and Shazam didn't make no money. So if you ask me, and James Gunn, his Suicide Squad movie made even less. So I don't know what these people are. I don't know what these people are talking about. If anything, you have the Snyder fandom. You fans have the Snyder fandom to thank for that movie making $1 billion, because we all went to see it and drove because we wanted to pay Jason Momoa back for being so vocal and supporting the Snyder Cut. That's what happened. That's history right there. That's a fact. So I don't understand what. I'm with you. I don't understand why Safran's getting all this credit for Aquaman just because his name was on $1 billion movie. I mean, who cares? A lot of people's name was on that movie. I mean, what did he do? I just don't get it. I'm at the point where it's like, they say that it's not show friends, that it's show business, but it sure looks like show friends to me. I mean, because Saffron, what does Zaslav care about Saffron? Why is Saffron so beloved and coveted? And the idea of bringing in James Gunn is actually ludicrous to me. Like, he's not even the last person you would have picked for this job. He wouldn't have been in the conversation. So what? I don't know. I can't.
Could you imagine if we lost $100 million for our company, that whatever job we work for, if we lost $100 million for the company, our asses would be out the door. We would not be promoted as CEO of the company.
Yeah. James Gunn, he fails upward, which is why I keep telling people James Gunn is a paperweight. He's there right now because they need somebody to be the buffer between the studio and the fans. And that's what James Gunn's job really is. He's not there to actually get any movies made because he's not going to have enough time to get any movies made. By the time his movies, WBD is in a position to actually get any of his movies in production, they'll probably be sold already. The Flash is all. This is the reality. This is the harsh reality for everybody. Flash is the only thing that WBD has right now. If Flash isn't a hit, they're going to be sold a lot quicker. And we already know Flash is going to be a hit because Flash actually looks like a quality blockbuster. Flash looks like a blockbuster film just from the trailer. Flash looks like it's ready to go. Everything else, they know they can't make nothing off of it. So Gunn is a paperweight. He's a figurehead. He's been put there to fight the fans and to cause trouble on social media. That's all I think that's what he's really being paid for. I think this whole thing with him, coming up with a slate, I think it's all a big elaborate, like an elaborate joke. He's not going to be able to do any of it. I don't think I'm very suspicious about the stuff that James Gunn wants to do. I don't think we're going to see any of it.
Honestly, I think we'll see Creature Commandos. I think we'll see Waller. I think we'll see some of the smaller TV stuff that he's doing. But in terms of the movies, honestly, I agree with you. I truly agree with you because I don't think Comcast buying like the Warner Brothers Discovery, I don't think that's going to save the Snyderverse necessarily. I think too much time will have passed by then. But that doesn't mean that they want to go with Gunn's plan either. My guess is they're going to want to do their own thing. And if they see that Gunn has not made money for DC, why would Universal want to keep him?
They won't. The thing is, any studio that comes in, any company that comes in and takes over WBD, they're not going to keep James Gunn. James Gunn is gone the moment this happens. See, the difference between Warner, what we have now with Discovery, and what we would have later on is the next company that comes in, it's going to be a hostile takeover where they're just going to come in, get rid of everybody, and start again. You're not going to have them keeping anybody on. The only reason why now it's like you got some people that were brought in Zaslav because Zaslav doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do, but he knows he's smart. Zaslav is smart enough to know that none of these other movies are going to be able to be made in time for them once they sell the company. He already knows that. That's probably why he agreed when Peter Safran wanted to bring James Gunn, because he probably felt, oh yeah, we can use James Gunn to fight with fans and to be on social media because we know nothing's going to come of it. They all know it's BS. That's why they got rid of Cavill. They didn't get rid of Cavill because James Gunn has a better idea for Superman. He literally just allegedly started writing his Superman script. So they didn't get rid of Cavill because, oh yeah, he's got a better idea. No, they got rid of Cavill because they can't afford Cavill. Zaslav was on record being a fan of Henry Cavill. They got rid of Henry Cavill because they can't afford him. That's the only reason. This is why I don't understand. It's like they're using James Gunn as the fall guy, but he's a willing participant. He's playing this role because James Gunn likes to be a troll. And I don't think my theories are wrong. I think this is really how it is. He's being paid to be this way because they know that they can't do anything. Their hands are tied. They won't have any money until The Flash becomes $1 billion hit. That's their moneymaker right now. Everything else is just ancillary garbage that you can take or leave. They know they look. Let's be honest. Let's break down these 4 movies for a second. Let's see. First, we got Shazam, Fury of the Gods. It's going nowhere. It's in the trash bin. It's garbage. It probably won't even do well enough to get a DVD release. It's terrible. The Flash. That's going to be their big money maker. That's going to be the crown jewel of the year for DC. They Aquaman. I don't know. There's no way Aquaman makes $1 billion. Not with the way that, the way things are going right now. With the way Jason Momoa is begging and tapping and running around all happy and excited about James Peter Safran. There's no way that Aquaman 2 makes $1 billion. The Snyder army is not going to come out in droves for Jason Momoa this time. So that Juan billion isn't happening. And as far as Blue Beetle goes, Blue Beetle is even less known than Shazam and Black Adam. So if Shazam and Black Adam don't make any money, what makes people think that Blue Beetle's going to make money? I've had it with all this nonsense about, Blue Beetle, it's going to make money. No, it's not, because nobody knows who Blue Beetle is. Blue Beetle's like an indie comics character as far as the general public is concerned. Remember, you want the general public to come out and see these movies. That's why the marketing for Flash is fantastic, because they're marketing it like DC's version of No Way Home. I don't get it, man. I'm confused, dude. Like, I think that's the only movie they got. The only movie they got is The Flash. Everything else is garbage. I don't even think anybody cares about this Joker 2 either. I don't know what they think they're doing with the musical Joker Coker 2. I don't know what people are thinking about right now. I just know that for me, it's all about The Flash.
Yeah, and I'd say for me, that's the only movie I'm excited for, because when we had our trending day on 2/14, that's when they released that Joker picture with Lady Gaga's Harley Quinn. And to be honest, no one gave a shit. It was all about sell ZSJL to Netflix, sell Snyderverse to Netflix. That is the only thing other than The Flash that has kept anyone excited for DC. Like, that 2/14 day we had was, I think, probably the most hyped I've been for DC. And that was just for a possibility of something. But what do you think about that 2/14 trending event? How do you think that day went?
I'm tremendously proud of the people that have put that together. Skywalker, Leon, and Sammy, the Trinity, they put together a wonderful trending event. And I think it was an amazing and colossal first step towards something. And I think that the message, the message was well sent, and I think people should be excited. And I'm glad that this exists. I told Skywalker, I called him up when he came up with this. I called him up and told him straight up, you saved my book by creating this new hashtag, because this is something positive that the fan base can rally around in a positive way and be excited, and nothing negative, nothing like F James Gunn or fire James Gunn or anything like that. We're focusing primarily on Netflix, and it's a brilliant idea. And I'm excited, and I'm optimistic that it could lead to something.
I am too. I think because, one, Netflix has money. Netflix is invested in Zack Snyder, and DC or Warner Brothers Discovery. Not only do they need money, they need hype for the DC brand, which is why I think licensing this off or selling, whatever you want to call it, it's the same. I'm not arguing semantics here, but the point is, Netflix could keep that hype for the DC brand going. And people think that, they say it's too much to ask for more than just Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3. To ask for the Ayer cut, Batfleck, Man of Tomorrow, oh, it's too much, you're asking too much. Here's the way I look at it. The more projects that Warner Brothers Discovery license out to Netflix, the more money that Warner Brothers Discovery makes. And that gives them more money to fund their projects over on Warner Brothers Discovery. Assuming they're made, we'll see, but everyone has something to gain from this. Everyone. Which is why James Gunn speaking out against this, it felt like a waste of time. It's like, why? Why say anything?
Because that's his job. It's his job to keep the fans riled up, because it keeps people talking regardless of what your view is. So James Gunn, as long as he's keeping the fires stoked, he's doing his job. That's why I say he's being paid to do this. He's being paid to be. He's on social media entirely too much not to be being paid to do exactly what he's doing. He's got, honestly, he's not writing nothing. He's not doing movie. He's not doing anything. He came up with that slate 10 minutes before he went live and did that video. He's not writing anything. He's on social media, fighting with people, arguing with people, answering burner accounts. He's not. I don't see any other. I don't see it on any other. And we found out he's on multiple social media platforms doing this, not just Twitter. So if he was really seriously in that role of co-CEO of DC Studios, we wouldn't be hearing from him at all, or we'd be hearing from him very sparingly. It wouldn't be like this. You just don't. It just doesn't add up. Like the amount of time that he spends doing what he's doing, it does not add up at all. And like I said, his slate is so all over the place and disconnected. I mean, when he said the authority literally fell off my chair, because the authority is so obscure and so, you want to talk about nerd. You want to talk about nerd credentials, and you want to talk about a nerdy fever dream of a movie. That's what the authority would be. For him to bring that up as part of chapter 1 of what he wants to do shows you that he's not doing anything. Come on. Really? You're going to do an authority movie and you haven't even established your trinity of Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman yet, but you're going to do basically a team that's basically a darker version of the Justice League, in a sense, like a gray area kind of Justice League kind of story.
You have to I think he's a lunatic, and I don't think he's really doing anything. I don't think that slate that we saw is real. I think he just pulled it out of his butt 10 minutes before he had to go live and talk about it. And that's what he did. He didn't write. He's making things up as he goes along. He's got no credibility. All he does is lie, make stuff up, argue with people. How anybody can believe anything that he says at this point is beyond me. I don't trust him as far as I could throw him. And I don't think he's got any aspirations to really make any of these movies. I think he's talking out of his butt, and we're going to find that out sooner rather than later, because after The Flash comes out and they somehow course correct and decide, okay, we're doing this because The Flash made $1 billion, then we'll know. Because if he's really dead set on doing all of these disconnected projects, and he has to course correct when The Flash comes out, I think they know, and that's probably why he put out a bogus slate, because they know The Flash is a good movie. They know The Flash is going to make money. They know the fans are going to show up for it, and they know they're going to have to continue. They know they can't just
abandon it. It's going to be a hit. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
it'll only show
convinced.
more demand for the Snyderverse. It's gonna that's people think that boycotting this movie is gonna help the Snyderverse, but no, that's the worst thing you could do.
Boycotting this movie.
This.
There's still people out there. There's still people out there talking about boycotting after what we went through with Black Adam. We're still got people out there talking boycott. Okay.
Well, no, they don't want to admit that boycotting Black Adam was bad for the was bad. No, some of them, they're still doubling down that was the right thing to do.
Yeah, that they're a pack of fools that I have never seen before. Like they're almost on the level of James Gunn stupidity thinking that. Because here's the thing, when you literally have Henry Cavill in the movie, that was your cue. You got to support this. I don't care what color suit he's in. I don't care what music is playing in the background. If Henry Cavill is in this movie as Superman, you have to support it. I just don't understand. That's your smoking gun. That's your evidence. Hey, they're using our Superman, which can only lead logically to Zach coming back and working with Henry again. Hence the reason why Zach even said that to Henry when he was on that interview. Remember that interview that we had to pay, $25 for? You remember, it's like when you have something like that's your cue. That was the cue for all the people, that was Zach basically saying, without saying it, but saying, y'all better go see this Black Adam movie. Like that was them trying to tell you without telling you, hey, there's a lot riding on this Black Adam movie. You want the Snyderverse to continue, you need to go see this film. And
here's another point I want to bring up too.
They did.
The Flash movie stars Ezra Miller. A lot of these boycotters do support Ezra Miller with everything that's gone down. What do they think happens if they succeed in this boycott of the Flash movie? Do they think that everyone's first impression of this is going to be, oh, it was because Ray Fisher wasn't in the movie? Do they think that's what's going to go?
See, I love seeing all these idiots hide behind Ray Fisher, because some of these same people that have been talking about boycott after boycott, crisis after crisis, some of these same people were mad at Ray Fisher for speaking out, because they thought that when he spoke out, it was hurting the Snyderverse. So you see, this is where what I love. They're hiding behind Ray Fisher, but I got news for you. What if, and I'm just throwing this out there, we know there's going to be a ton of surprising cameos in the Flash movie. What if there's a Ray Fisher cameo in the Flash movie? What if he's in it?
It wouldn't surprise me, honestly.
It's a cameo, but what if he's in it? If he's in it, then what are you going to say? You boycotted. And what did you do? You hid behind Ray Fisher, but if Ray Fisher's in the movie, now what?
He's not in it enough. That's what they're going to say. They'll move the goalposts like they always do.
Because he's not in it enough. Just like Henry Cavill. Oh, his hair was wrong. The suit was wrong. The music was wrong. He wasn't our Superman, but he was Henry Cavill. He was our Superman. It was the same Superman from the Snyderverse, but y'all just, I don't. I mean, talk about arguing over semantics. I mean, I was blown away by that whole argument. And then to top it off, Black Adam was actually a pretty good movie too. So,
oh yeah, much better than Shazam, much better than any recent Marvel movie, to be quite honest, except for like No Way Home maybe. But in general, Black Adam was better than most of what Marvel has done. I really liked Black Adam. I thought it was really good, and I think Black Adam v Superman, that film would have made $1 billion, because that would have been an actual Black Adam film that had Superman in it. That would have been an actual film that they could have marketed with Superman. Black Adam v Superman. Could you imagine that film in theaters?
Well, yeah, that's what I think. I think Man of Steel 2 would have eventually set up. I think Man of Steel 2 would have set up a Black Adam versus Superman, and you would have had something along those lines, sure. But
I think 100%.
Worst of all, the mistake that people made by boycotting that is they literally cut off the possibility of Zack Snyder reuniting with Henry Cavill for another Snyderverse film, which we likely would have gotten if Black Adam would have done well. So now we're in this situation where we have to depend on whether or not the idea of selling to Netflix, works out. And we just have to hope that this is something that is going to be viable on both sides. And to be honest, it looks like it is, because we know that Netflix wanted the Snyder Cut when WB was refusing to release it. And we know that Netflix is in the Zack Snyder business. So we have that. And then we also have the fact that WBD is broke, which I think is the biggest reason why this will happen, because WBD is broke and needs the money. And they know they're not going to be able to get any major movie projects out in the next couple of years unless they do something to drum up some cash. So I think there's a very good chance that the Snyderverse will live on through Netflix.
Oh yeah, same here, 100%. And here's what I love about campaigning for all these different projects too. I think personally, campaigning for stuff like Man of Tomorrow and Batfleck can really help the Snyderverse, because this also gives Netflix a way to kind of test out the waters for some smaller scale projects. They could do some of these smaller scale projects, see how much of a success those are, then invest in the bigger stuff. So it's a way for Netflix to even kind of minimize their risk too. So there's so many different possibilities with Netflix. And that's why, it's this idea that Skywalker came up with that seems so obvious now, but at the time was like, you just couldn't have even fathomed it. But now it's like, oh, of course, that's like the only thing to do. Plus, if they want a cut of a director's cut of another movie, there's one already out there. They could buy, Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. Just saying.
Yeah, they could buy the exclusive rights to the Ayer cut, and right away, they could put the Ayer cut out because the Ayer cut is ready to go. Oh.
Plus, that would show the demand for the Snyderverse. It wouldn't be that expensive. You could see Jared Leto's true performance as the Joker. Like, I don't like to entertain us not getting the Ayer cut. I talk about all these different things that could or could not happen, but the thing is, we should be able to get the Ayer cut because it's already filmed. Even like I say this live, even if like Will Smith were to tragically die, Margaret Robbie, Jared Leto, we would have
gotten the Ayer cut. We would have gotten the Ayer cut if David Ayer didn't handicap us when we wanted to do that big trending event the day the Suicide Squad came out. The day the Suicide Squad came out, we were supposed to do a big trending event for Release the Ayer cut. And David Ayer told us not to do it because David Ayer wanted James Gunn to have his moment in the sun. And look at what happened. Not only did James Gunn have his failed moment in the sun, but he failed upward. And now he's head of DC. So thanks a lot, David Ayer. That really helped us, and that really moved the needle for us getting your movie. And now it's like David Ayer says things like, well, there's a chance that it could come. So you're saying there's a chance. Well, guess what? You've been saying there's a chance for years now, and I don't think it's. If anything, I think it's farther off now than it was back then when we were actively campaigning for it. And now, the only chance you got again is thanks to Skywalker and Leon and Sammy. The idea of sell Zack Snyder's Justice League to Netflix, sell Snyderverse to Netflix. That's the only play David Ayer has, because James Gunn has no intention of promoting to put out the Ayer cut. James Gunn is all about his whatever role is right now. So there's not going to be. We won't see the Ayer cut if it's left up to WBD.
And that's sad to me because, like, James Gunn, like, if James Gunn was actually a professional, he would have given David Ayer that professional courtesy, being like, hey, you supported me in my time. I'm going to support you. Release this cut of this already filmed movie.
Favors don't.
Mhm.
Favors only go one way with some people. That's what we learned from this. It's again, I don't. And what I find so funny is David Ayer has spent all this time kissing up to James Gunn, and what has it gotten him?
Got him nothing. He should tweet sell ZSJL, sell Snyderverse to Netflix. I would love to see him, or like he could send like how Zack Snyder got Wayne T. Carr. I mean, we don't officially know that Zack Snyder sent Wayne T. Carr to do that, but Wayne T. Carr showed support for the movement. Could you imagine if Will Smith tweeted out sell Snyderverse to Netflix? Jared Leto tweeted out sell Snyderverse to Netflix. Could you? I mean,
maybe something like that'll happen in a future trending event. We don't know. Remember, this was just the first trending event. This was the first major trending event that these hashtags have had. So you gotta learn to crawl before you can walk. So I mean, release the Snyder Cut didn't get all that recognition within a day or a couple of months. It took time. So I think now that those hashtags are established and we've proven that we can get things trending, I think future trending events will have that kind of impact. And who knows, you might get a Will Smith or a Jared Leto or even a Zack Snyder tweeting something like this out, or a Ben Affleck. It's possible. But we know that when that happens, they only will get involved if it's something that is a real possibility. Because remember, at the time that they tweeted, it was pretty much known that it was going to happen. Right? When Ben Affleck tweeted out, release the Snyder Cut, we knew it was happening. If you see any of the big names tweeting something like that out, it's because it's actually happening.
Yeah,
they don't throw their support behind something that's not going anywhere.
Yeah, at least not the big names, not the like Ray Fisher has been pretty active in the past. We got Wayne T. Carr tweeting it out, but like I would love to see like Will Smith go out of his way to show support for it. I mean, like not like being asked it. I mean, like if you're asked it, of course they're going to say yes. They're not going to say no if they're asked about it. Like that's why I always find it so weird when they make such a big deal about, oh, they showed support for him. Like they were asked. What were they going to say? No. That's why I like seeing the actual. And here's what I like about these two hashtags. And I want your opinion on this. One issue in hindsight we had is that Restore the Snyderverse involved too many hashtags. We had Restore the Snyderverse, make the Batfleck movie, release the Ayer Cut, make Man of Tomorrow, bring Zack back, boycott WBD, fire James Gunn. It's just so many different hashtags into like, and I think that kind of diluted the whole movement. Whereas now, sell Snyderverse to Netflix, that covers Man of Tomorrow, that covers the Batfleck movie, that covers the Ayer Cut. It's one hashtag to ask for everything, and I think that makes the hashtags trend stronger.
Well, it's two hashtags, so
sells it, which you can use.
But it's actually those two, like you said, being all encompassing, it makes logical sense, and I think it's going to pick up. I mean, I don't see, I feel like this is just the beginning, and these hashtags have come a long way, all in a very short time. I mean, they've been getting written about. They've been getting, all kinds of attention. I see it being a success, and again, for the reasons we've already talked about, I think it's a slam dunk that eventually this will happen, that both sides will agree to something. And again, there's rumors out there. There was a rumor several weeks back when the hashtags were getting picked up by the trades. There was a rumor, I'd say about 2 weeks ago or so, if I'm not mistaken, that there was some sort of offer from Netflix made already. I believe the dollar amount was something on the lines of Netflix offered WBD $1 billion So listen, I think there's a big chance it'll happen. And if that offer was made, Zaslav would be foolish not to accept such an offer. I mean, I don't.
But there's one person who doubts it, though. Jay Oliva. So he spoke out about it. What do you think about what he said? About him kind of speaking out against that possibility?
Well, for Jay, I think it's just that he doesn't understand the implications of the hashtag. I don't think that, I think Jay is kind of hung up on certain elements and is kind of confused as to what it really means. And he's not really well versed on what the hashtag is supposed to entail. And I think that's pretty much sums up where Jay is at. I don't think that Jay is intentionally, being a downer about it, but I just don't think he understands it on the level that maybe he should, because he's been involved in these fan campaigns for a while. He was very active, released the Snyder Cut. I think he was even pretty active with Restore the Snyderverse. But I think he's kind of confused as to what we're trying to do with Cell ZSJL. And I think he's kind of, I just don't think he knows. I think it's simply a case of Jay speaking on something that he's not really informed. He hasn't taken the time to investigate. And so no disrespect to him, but I just think he's lost. He doesn't know exactly what it is. But I think if he were to investigate and he were to actually look at what the hashtags are trying to accomplish, then maybe he would see things differently. But as of right now, I'm noticing he's taking a lot of things out of context. He's not really, it doesn't sound like he really knows what he's talking about. And then to top it off, it does sound a little bit to me like he's trying to suck up to James Gunn a little bit because he wants some work.
Wants a job
with the new DCU.
Well, just saying, David Ayer sucked up to James Gunn, and we saw how that worked out. So maybe sucking up is not the best way to go. I think, my opinion, Jay Oliva should have just stayed quiet about it, and that's okay to do, people. It's you don't have to respond to something just because someone asks you. If you don't really know the answer,
Well, he could have just said, "I don't really know a whole lot about it, so I'm not really going to say anything." That he could have literally tweeted that out when somebody asked him about it. But to go to the lengths that he has, and I don't know. I feel like he's kind of, again, I think he's sucking up to Gunn a little bit, and unfortunate.
Yeah, and it's always sad when people do that, because it's like because then you don't know what people's actual opinions are when they just say what makes people happy. Like, this is why I like what we do. Is like, we don't have to make anyone happy. We are giving our honest opinions about
It's not right. With us, it's not about business. It's just about us discussing the topics, just logically and sensibly. And for people like Jay Oliva and Zachary Levi and Jason Momoa, it's about lining their pockets. So when money is involved, you can't really expect objectivity.
I mean, and the thing is, realistically too, I mean, how different would we actually be? I mean, if our jobs, our livelihoods were affected on what we said, like, put it like this: would you tweet out hashtag sells the SJL to Netflix, sells Snyderverse to Netflix if you were to lose your job? If, let's say, your boss came to you and said, if you tweet this out, you're out of here and you're not working.
Yeah, I don't think so. I just don't think I would say anything. But at the same time, I wouldn't be trashing it either. I wouldn't be going out of my way to say negative things either. If I don't have something positive to say, I'm not going to say anything at all. And that's something that I'm trying very hard to stick to now as a philosophy. If I don't have anything to say positively, I'd rather not even speak, because, being negative is not something I want to do, especially when it's really not warranted and it really doesn't do anything for me but make me feel worse or make me feel bad about a situation, and I'd rather not do that. This person had said something along the lines of always say something positive even in a negative conversation, because ultimately when you inject positivity into a negative conversation, you're going to be remembered for your positivity. The negativity is always going to be there, but you're going to be remembered because you were positive and because you weren't looking at everything from a negative perspective. So for me, I choose to be positive about the Flash movie. I choose because I can be in the midst of all these negative things like Aquaman 2, Shazam 2, and this Blue Beetle movie that nobody cares about. But ultimately, I can look at this and say, DC, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's this Flash movie. This Flash movie is going to be your hit. If any of these movies has a chance of making you $1 billion, the only one is the Flash, and that's positive. That's just, this movie has blockbuster written all over it. Even random people who don't pay attention to this stuff can look at the Flash trailer and get excited for it and see potential in it. Can't say that about the other stuff.
Although, you know how you said earlier that you don't think any of the cameos will be cut? There is one cameo I hope the God is cut. And you know which one that is? George Clooney.
You know what? I got to be honest with you. I'm not as bothered by the idea of George Clooney showing up in a cameo. I don't care. He did play Batman. And so to me, it doesn't bother me if he does. I just don't want Ezra Miller's Flash to be stuck in the Clooney verse.
That's why I want the cameo cuts because of that.
But I wouldn't mind seeing him in there. I don't really. I mean, he played Batman. If this is truly a multiverse movie, then the more Batman that you have in this movie, better. The more Superman you have in this movie, the better. That includes Cavill, Reeves, Ralph, George Reeves, have all the surviving Superman actors and even the dead ones pop up via CG, whatever you have to do. Same with Adam West. If Adam West has a little CGI cameo in there somewhere, I don't care. I'm down because it's a multiverse movie. So if there's any movie where it's okay to have cameos from all across the multiverse, it's this movie. This is the movie to do it in. If you're gonna ever see Clooney again, this is the movie to do it in. If you're gonna ever see Christopher Reeve again, this is the movie to do it in. If you're gonna, to me, it just makes sense from a multiverse comic booky kind of perspective. I mean, and let's be honest. Like I said, this is going to be a big movie, and this is going to get a lot of people in the fields, and it's going to be one of those situations where you're going to want to appeal to as broad of a demographic as you possibly can. That includes people that love, because there are people out there that love George Clooney as Batman. Believe it, there are people. I mean, there may not be many, but there are people out there who do. So to see him in that role again as Bruce Wayne or whatever, to see him, appear even for a brief 7 seconds or 15 seconds or whatever, you're appealing to everyone. And that's what I think is the biggest strength of this Flash movie. The fact that there's going to be something in it for every. This is why it's going to be such a big hit. And this is why it's going to have mass appeal, because it's going to be like a movie like Back to the Future, where there's something in it for everyone to relate to some way. You movies like Back to the Future are considered modern classics for a reason, because they continue to appeal to people over time, because there's elements in the storylines that literally people can relate to. And this is why, this is what I think is going to happen with the Flash. I think the Flash is on that same level. It has the chance to be like a a Back to the Future type classic.
So I have a confession to make. I've never seen Back to the Future.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's all I have to say. Wow. Maybe that's a trilogy of films that you should consider watching before you see The Flash. Because at one point, because at one point, Robert Zemeckis, who is the director of Back to the Future trilogy, was the director of The Flash.
Oh, wow. That movie had so many directors, but makes sense, I guess. Time travel. Damn.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to check. I mean, I don't know if they're on
Netflix. I think the Back to the Future movie, I believe that they're on Netflix. I want to say that they are because they were on Netflix. They were on Netflix last time I checked. I believe that they are, unless let me see. I think that they're on there. I really believe. I want to believe that they are. I think they were on there last time that I looked it up. Let's see. No, it doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like they're on Netflix right now, but they were. Damn, I don't know where they are. Maybe they might be on. You have them?
Oh no, I don't. I'm saying that I have all the streaming services. I mean, so like.
Oh, like, I think they're on. I think you know where I think they are right now. I think they might be on Peacock right now.
Oh, I have Peacock.
They might be on Peacock. Let me see. I believe that they are.
I even have HBO Max because I have that till August.
Let me see here. I believe that they're on Peacock. I have Peacock as well. Let me see.
Oh boy, all the people in the comments in the chat right now are going to be like, "What? How have you not seen it? How have you not seen it? What?" I know I'm going to get all sorts of.
Yeah. I don't know how you know. I don't know how you haven't seen it, but that's fascinating. I mean, looking now, I mean, especially with. Oh, okay. All right. They're on. No, they're not on Peacock. You know where they are right now? Hulu. You have Hulu?
Oh, the one I don't have. That's the one service I don't have. I have everything else. I have Netflix, Disney, HBO Max till August, Paramount, Peacock. The one I don't have is Hulu, and that's the one they're on.
Yeah, apparently it's on Hulu right now. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I think I can help you out a little bit, but we'll talk about that after the stream. This is I'm hyped. I'm hyped about Flash. It's going to be a great film.
So you have some stuff coming up. We have a lot of greats. You have a lot of big stuff coming up. Do you want to share your upcoming? Yeah, there you are.
Oh yeah. Well, coming up, I've actually got this coming Wednesday night, 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, midnight Thursday for you and I in Illinois, Bat Dan. I will be interviewing Mikey Sutton and Robert Meyer as I will be bringing back late night Q&A with Zodwriter. My late night talk is going to be that is actually episode 79 of that series that I've been doing. I can't believe I'm 7 interviews in on that, but that's going to be a really fun show. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff because Dreamwalker is huge, and of course I got our Dreamwalker collection. I got the variant right here, and I've got the issue, the second issue, which is thick and heavy, and then I've got the Filipino variant cover for #1 as well. I'm so excited for Dreamwalker, and I can't wait to discuss this with Mikey Sutton. And of course, my good friend Robert Meyer Burnett, him and I have had a lot of great conversations in the past, and it's going to be nice to have those two geniuses together on one live stream. So I got that coming up, and then of course I am in the process, as I mentioned earlier, of writing Pause Not Stopped, the true story of really hashtag release the Snyder cut and hashtag restore the Snyderverse. And now, because of what we're going through currently, I can add hashtag sell Zack Snyder's Justice League to Netflix and hashtag sell the Snyderverse to Netflix book, which has added another layer of absolute positivity to the book. So yeah, I keep trying. People keep asking me when it'll be out and all that, and I keep telling people I'm working on it. I don't want to give any specific dates. I'm hoping that I'm in my mind mentally targeting myself for the fall of this year, hopefully. But I don't want to jump the gun too much, because I got a lot of people that have said that they have, that they want to comment and they want to be a part of the book. And so I'm waiting for a lot of people to send me their comments and stuff where they want to talk about it. A lot of people are waiting to see how, some of this stuff shapes up, in the coming months with James Gunn, and we'll see if Netflix steps up and makes an offer, that kind of stuff. And so I'm kind of waiting on that too. So I'm still writing daily in this book because I got a lot to do, but I'm also kind of taking a bit of a breather from, really developing any new chapters and stuff until we kind of see how things play out, because I want this book to be as comprehensive as possible. And I want it to cover everything, not just my opinion, but the historical record and the value. And again, these additional hashtags, thanks to Sky, Leon, and Sammy, have helped the book tremendously, because now it's positivity all across the board.
I agree, and that's one thing I love about this movement is it did create that positivity. And I'm looking forward to your book, and I still need to give you my statement. It's just, be honest, it's coming up with the right words is like a
I know. I absolutely, I know. Everybody is, I got so many people who keep telling me, don't worry, I'm going to send you, I'm going to email you, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I got so many people that are telling me that, and I'm waiting to hear back. And I understand. That's why I haven't really put a deadline on it yet, because I'm waiting to see how things play out. Because again, we want to make sure that we get everything. Because here's the thing, the book is coming out regardless. The book is not, I'm not going to not, regardless of how successful or unsuccessful things are, as far as I'm concerned, it's already a massive success. Just the fact that the fans are now galvanized again in a way that they haven't been for a long time. We've been beat, we've been kicked while we were down. We have had dirt thrown in our faces. The Henry Cavill thing was a huge misstep. I remember after when that happened, I was seriously unsure if I was going to even continue writing the book. I didn't know if I could continue writing it, because at that point, my hope was gone. My positivity was gone. And I didn't want the book to veer into a completely negative perspective, because that's what would have happened. It would have been all about how much I hate James Gunn for the things that he's done. And I think James Gunn is the Antichrist of the DC universe. It would have been a horrible book, because I would have been all negative and all bent out of shape, and it would not have been the book that I wanted to write. And then my whole positive message of Pause Now would have been derailed. And I'm forever indebted to Skywalker for creating a hashtag that was positive, that could re-galvanize the fan base and get us all on track again. Because again, at that point, I didn't know if it was even going to be worth writing the book, because I didn't want a negative book, and I still don't. So I've resigned myself to the fact that no matter what happens, it's going to be a positive book either way, because of all the fan positivity. Win or lose, no matter what happens, we've done everything that we can do. We continue to do all the positive things. We continue to fight for what we're passionate about, and hopefully it'll yield results. And I want my book to be a positive chronicle of all that. So, yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to your book. I think it'll be, regardless of what happens with this movement, I think, there's a lot of positivity involved. You know, the great friends we've made, the money we've raised for, I got to say this slowly because I get this abbreviation wrong, AFSP. The money we raised for that, I mean, it's nothing to be sneezed at. So no matter what, I'm happy. I'm happy. You know, I wouldn't be on YouTube if it wasn't for this whole Snyderverse movement. So I'm happy. I mean, I'm happy with what we got. So we just have to keep fighting. And I think we have a lot of great stuff coming up. And I guess coming up on my channel, if StreamYard can fix this video, I have my review for Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. It's recorded, but StreamYard needs to fix my recording so that I can actually edit it and get it looking good. And to be honest, I kind of liked it. I actually thought it was a pretty decent movie, surprisingly. So I recommend Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. But, you know, thank you again, Zodwriter, for coming on. This was a great discussion. I always love your opinions with James Gunn, and no problem. No one else for James Gunn I could have on this panel. So check out Zodwriter's show. His channel is in the description. Check out his late night Q&A. I may have to be replay crew on that one because I have a bedtime on a work night, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's going to be a late one. And Mikey's already said that it's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those, like, he's expected to be in one of those 3-4 hour streams that I'm famous for. So if that ends up happening, yeah, you probably would be better to catch it on the replay. Yeah, because I fully expect it to go late, because having Robert and Mikey, it could very well go all night.
It might turn into an early morning Q&A.
Yeah, because Mikey and Rob are basically night owls, like myself. We tend to be night owls, so it'll probably go into the wee hours of the morning. I wouldn't be surprised.
But I'm going to catch it no matter what. I may have to watch it in shifts, like an hour at a time. But anything with Mikey Sutton and Robert Meyer Burnett together, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Plus, Mikey's going to probably be dropping bombs, too. That's what he does. Mikey loves dropping bombs, getting reactions, and it's probably going to be amazing. So we'll see what happens. Dan, thank you so much for having me tonight or today. I appreciate this. This has been a lot of fun talking to you. I love discussing these types of things because we're, we've been in this fandom forever, and this is something that is, I think now we're at a point where we actually do have something to look forward to in spite of James Gunn. So, yeah.
I think so too. We have a lot of great stuff coming up. Thank you for coming again, Zodwriter. And if you like this video, guys, please share, subscribe, comment to both me and
Definitely
Zodwriter.
Definitely subscribe. We got to get Bat Dan up there, man. He needs more subs, 100%.
100 subs, and I will do my very first live stream. So 15 away at the time of this recording. So subscribe. And lastly, have a bat-tastic day.